everyone. Great to be back on the WiT stage after 20 years. My hair in 20 years has shifted. The stomach has shifted, but I'm still here. So it's great to be with you, everybody. We're talking about the money. I always get the great job to talk to you about the money, and this has been an incredible year for money. We always talk about how Fintech is at the heart of travel, but Fintech is now dominating the news across all the board. Here are some of the big deals we've had in just the last year. Neobank Chime went public, market cap $18.4 billion. Pay Now, Pay Later innovator Klarna went public, $16.5 billion. Circle, who's an issuer of US dollar cryptocurrency stablecoins, they've got a market cap of $40 billion. And Stripe bought a cryptocurrency called Privy for $1.1 billion. I mean, we've lost track of how many billions there are floating around in Fintech at the moment. For the traveler, this means innovation is everywhere. Omar, my CEO, mentioned it. Payment wallets, opportunities for electronic payment, payment through points, loyalty programs, insurtech. There is so much going on. I have a panel of experts from across the payment spectrum and across the travel spectrum to help us dissect all this and see what it means as we hit the 21st year of WiT. Welcome, everybody. Great to have you here. Yeah, maybe you can kick off for us. Ant Financial has been touching on all of these parts of Fintech. Kick us off for us. What are you seeing in payments and travel? Is travel catching this Fintech wave? Is travel on top of it? Is travel behind? How do you see travel in this Fintech story?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure. In our point of view, we feel that travel has always been one of the most dynamic sector when it comes to payment innovation. Because if you think about it, travel inherently is global. It has to do with all the complex issues, cross-border payment, multi-currency payment, settlement, refund, etc. And then some of the common products you see everywhere today, for example, buy now, pay later, let's say loyalty as a currency, actually all took root in travel and then spread to other industries. So if you think about it, really, across all the different industries, retail is about scale, and then ride-hailing is about seamless payment experience. Finance is probably about product innovation, but then travel is where everything comes together. It really is the complexity solver. With Ant, we believe the next wave of payment involves travel and payment to come even closer together to offer user seamless experience, cover the entire journey from pre-trip booking to in-destination spending, and then to post-trip services such as tax refund, etc. And then for us, thankfully, we have quite a wide spectrum of services. We have our Anton merchant services has been connected to a lot of international travel players and helping you to enable a lot of local payment method. And then we have Alipay Plus, which enables 1.8 billion users to pay seamlessly using their local home wallets in 100 markets across 100 million merchants. That solves the local spending issue. And I believe in the future, with agentic payment, embedded payment, travel industry will continue to stay on the frontier of payment innovation.
Now, what you've talked about there is consumers giving over a lot of their life then in sort of a trust environment, being very comfortable if they're going to do their whole payment cycle. Tania, we were talking before, you've been doing a lot of work with Visa and sort of trust and security and safety. If we're going to have the entire journey be involved in some sort of payment network or system connected by phones, how are we going to make sure, how are consumers going to believe that everything's going to be okay? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, we say that there's been more happening in payments over the last couple of years. We're talking about the last 20. I mean, when you think back what's happened in the last 20 years compared to the last couple of years and how payments have evolved and how they're just becoming so much more, I suppose, convenient for everybody. Local payment methods where consumers can use the payment method of their choice rather than having to go and pay with rice in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I did think that was false, by the way. But anyway. But also, as you quite rightly say, there's the trust element, and we were talking about with the move to agentic, would you trust an agent with your payments, yes or no? And, you know, I work for a company, I work at Visa, and we're just very much focused on how do you make sure that the consumers can trust the payment methods that they're being shown, yes. And how do you make sure that bad actors are removed from that ecosystem, and how also can you ensure that you don't confuse the consumer too much, because you know we all go to payment pages, be it in travel or anything else, where you're just given this whole gamut of different payment types, and it is confusing. So, but I think the trust and security is so pivotal as we move forward now. You know, how do you kind of make sure that when that consumer clicks on the button, they can absolutely be assured that their payments are correct and are going to go through properly? And how do we make sure as well in terms of what their rights are? Because there are different rights associated with different payment types. Yes. And are we being clear enough to our customers in terms of what it actually means when they use a particular payment type? So that's kind of what consumes us, really, in terms of kind of making it as safe as possible online, or not.
Aireen, let me bring you in there, because obviously BigPay is right at the heart of consumer payments, and trust must be a big factor. What have you been doing and thinking about in terms of getting trust and establishing that connection with the consumer?
What we've been doing is we try our best to take advantage of the whole ecosystem that the group, which is BigPay, is part of, the AirAsia group that BigPay is part of, to take advantage of the user experience in terms of their traveling needs and wants, in terms of their past behavior and so forth, and how do we make payments seamless for them. Yes. The idea when we first started this was to get users, or we call them guests, our guests, to keep coming back to buy AirAsia flights. And we want to make sure that traveling is always affordable for them. And what we've noticed many years ago that you know, travelers have to change currency when they move to one country to another country, and it becomes expensive for them, and it's becoming part of their traveling costs. And we felt, how can we make this cheaper for them? When they travel, they can use payment easily, it's cheaper and so forth, and that's how BigPay came to birth, is to ensure that the traveler enjoys. Currency exchange is not being charged in huge commissions, when in the past it was through banks that they get to change currencies and so forth. At the same time also, how do we use the ecosystem to take advantage of the loyalty points that the AirAsia group has, which is called AirAsia Rewards. AirAsia Rewards was built because it was a cheaper way to get customer loyalty and customer acquisition. And how do we make use of that in terms of payments? People can use points to pay or part pay their flights, but how do they use BigPay to earn points as well, apart from earning points from flights? And how to use BigPay when they travel to get better rates for their purchases of your holidays and so forth. And we see also travelers are not just leisure travelers. There's also business travelers. There's also migrant workers travelers. There's also religious travelers. Like we see a lot in this part of the world that people travel for Umrah or Hajj. And there's a lot of movements of money, cross-border money and so forth. So it's not just payments, but remittances. And then eventually, how can we provide lending or financing facilities, right? So it's easy for the users or for our guests or travelers, when they purchase something, they can choose whether they want to use BigPay, they want to part pay it for certain months and so forth. And making use of the ecosystem so that when they travel, we say, hey, you can use Alipay Plus when you go to Thailand or Singapore, and not just the BigPay Visa card, and many other areas too. So it's about centering that activity into BigPay for each traveler.
Angela, let me bring you in, because you're at the coal face, the front end with the traveller. You know, what are you seeing from the supplier side, the operator side? How are these fintech things impacting the way you run your business?
Thank you for asking, Tim, and I'm glad to be here today. So after hearing from all the solutions provider, I think Mandai actually embraced fintech innovation into our cuisine over the last 2 years. I think we were just touching the surface because all we want to talk about back then was about seamless payment, allowing our guests to be able to pay across, where they want to spend, from buying our online tickets and mobile checkout. But now, we can already implement it across all our, touch points like our F&B outlets, our retail experiences. So every part of the business in Mandai, you are able to, use your cashless payment. And with all this, right, every transaction comes with data that we can use for future. How are we going to uplift our revenue? How are we going to use them, properly to look at, predictions of when is the next spend? And how are we going to marry those data and ingest that back into our Mandai, CDP, whereby we are actually able to analyze more about our customer spend, where are they coming from? So these are all the valuable data that we can collect during each and every transaction. So I think the fintech role has definitely moved from a back end to a front end in helping us to shape our guest experience across the precinct, and which is very important for us as a strategic partner.
So that sort of sets the scene for us. We've got a lot of issues here about trust, about scalability, about usage, about connectivity and data. Let's touch on, I've identified 3 big trends in fintech and travel I want to touch on. The first one I want to touch on is consumer fintech and travel. So we've got products like BNPL, we've got InsurTech, price freezes, cancellation insurance. Let's talk about how that's impacting travel. I mean, maybe, Tania, you want to bring in, what sort of innovations are you seeing and things you're experiencing in this area that you think are worth us kicking off this conversation?
Yeah, I think the move towards embedded payments and having, and particularly, we've heard today in terms of the move, I think it was 19% 20 years ago online to like over 70% now in terms of online payments. People are using the explosion of the use of the smartphone and having everything at your fingertips and being able to buy things as you go along and having all of the things that you're saying there embedded in the purchasing journey. And I think that has been wonderful to see. I still think we've got a way to go. I think Martin put up a slide earlier, that white slide of how he visualized an airport. I visualize that for payments.
Right.
So you don't have any... payments are just a smooth experience, and there's not, you don't have any friction along the way. And I do think that is kind of got to be our nirvana across this room, really, in terms of how we're going to go forward. I still have to get a plastic card out when I check into a hotel. I mean, people were talking about the registration forms earlier. I can do a registration form. It's like getting my plastic card out when I'm tired and I don't want to do it. So there's a way to go. Super exciting where we've got to, but let's just keep going and get that white sheet of paper on the screen.
Angeline, as an operator, can we kill the plastic card as an operator? One day, can we pay some other way? What are your thoughts on that, killing the plastic card?
So I think it's really depending on the customer at the end of the day. So what is their preference? And it's very natural sometimes, when you go to a coffee shop in Singapore, if they don't accept pay now, you don't want to buy a coffee from them, to be honest. So I don't carry cash with me these days. Even my daughter doesn't want me to pay them or give them money in cash. So that's the fact.
I've got to give you a personal experience from just 2 hours ago, where when fintech breaks down, your life is in trouble. So I had to get a grab to one part of Singapore to pick something up, to get a grab to another part of Singapore to have lunch. UOB credit cards don't like you taking 2 grabs back to back, and froze my card. And I found out my card was frozen when I tried to order a grab to get back to here for a meeting. I then had to call UOB, who said it was going to take 15 minutes to reactivate my card. So me taking 2 grabs took a 15-minute phone call to Thailand. So I don't know if I've got a question there, but someone tell me how we fix this. Someone tell me how seamlessness in payments can not get me frozen in Singapore, figuring out how I'm going to get back to Marina Bay Sands. I was actually looking for an ATM at one point. I don't know if I've got a question for you, but fix it. Fintech people, is there a way we can fix this somehow? Or is this just the edge cases that we're going to get stranded in with fintech for a lot?
Well, I think, first of all, for strong use cases, essential use cases like ride-hailing, I think from Alipay Plus perspective, I would probably address this from different ways. One is that, Grab, I'm sure Grab already enabled a lot of alternative payment methods. For instance, if you open up a Grab in Singapore, you would realize that, hey, through Alipay Plus, Kakao can be used.
Yes, yes.
If a Korean customers visiting Singapore having issue with the card, they can use their Kakao, bind the Kakao to the, to Grab and make the payment. Same thing is happening with other Alipay Plus payment method, which we offer to Grab. I think having multiple payment methods available to ride-hailing platforms is one solution. Another way of solving this is, our Alipay Plus way is that we believe the future, of payment. One of the main, wallet share comes from the user pay with their home wallet,
right?
Because that's what they are most used to. And then what we have done, for example, recently we enabled Grab ride-hailing services accessible from a building travel service, AI agent travel service called Voyager. So Alipay Plus, wallet partners in the future, hopefully BigPay,
yes,
can enjoy the convenience of ordering Grab, ride-hailing directly
yes,
from a BigPay. When BigPay user from Malaysia travel to Singapore, if you end up having Teams situation, you can directly hail cab from a BigPay app.
Yeah. Aireen, we've got some thoughts on that. How does that sound?
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about like making it easy for the users, really.
Yes.
And it's also about like how do we make use of the data around them and give them whatever needs and highly personalized in terms of what they need and so forth. I think one thing that it's quite important to note is that a lot of businesses see payments as a cost. But we feel that it can turn into a revenue generating for an ecosystem if we do it really well, because we understand the transactions done on a day-to-day basis, and what they do is not just in the ecosystem for flights or holidays, but we have them on their day-to-day activities. And how can we use this as an opportunity to provide better revenue generating in terms of marketing opportunities and so forth, and becoming even more personalized as well. So I think having this whole payment solution as a center to a community, to a whole ecosystem, can actually open up more opportunities or so.
Yeah, yeah. All right, that's the first trend I want to talk about. The second big trend I want to talk about, and we touched on it already, was loyalty points, and that everyone is becoming an OTA through the power of points. As you mentioned, Jan, that loyalty points came out of travel. I found an article from The Economist called Funny Money. And this article said that the total stock of unredeemed miles in the world was worth more than the dollar bills in circulation. This article was published in 2005. So we've had 20 years of trillions of dollars of points being collected. Now we've got a loyalty person. Why don't you kick us off? Are points truly loyal? Are there just too many of them? We're drowning in them. What are your perspectives on the loyalty point?
It's valuable when it can be used on a frequent basis and the velocity of being used is there. Yeah. But we didn't stop of providing points for just people to when they purchase flights or hotels and so forth. We felt that it can go further beyond what we have in our ecosystem. How do we partner up with others that complements our services so that our guests can also earn points with other partners that we have, and they can then redeem it into the whole ecosystem. So I think that has worked quite well. We have seen points being earned outside the ecosystem, maybe about 60% of the points earned are outside the ecosystem, but 80% is earned in the ecosystem.
Right.
So I think that's where, when we understand how to use these points and make it value, and the value proposition for the users is there, and the fact that how can we use this on a frequency basis, so then the users see the value, and then we can use that. So I think it's a good way of getting loyalty and customer acquisition, and from there we understand the user behavior, the data of the user. We can also see how users use the points as gifts, so we understand the inner circle of the user.
Yes.
And then that's also another opportunity for us to target the inner circle of the user.
And we've seen a lot of this ecosystem stuff in America, right? Interchange fees are quite high. Credit card companies can do well in America. Chase is now arguably the third biggest OTA in America, all in an earn and burn environment with points, just a points-based OTA. And then there's a newish startup in America called Built that allows you to earn points on your rent, even if your real estate agent doesn't take credit cards. So you can somehow or other get payments to your real estate agent for earning points on your rent. I mean, at some point, points and dollars just become the same. I mean, do you have a view? Angeline, do you have a view? Is the points and dollars we just end up having currencies like we'd have a Kakao wallet, we have a Bonvoy wallet, a Chase wallet, a BigPay wallet, a whatever else wallet? Yeah. Thoughts? Anyone?
Yes, I mean,
Just a yes?
I think so, because now we have seen an increasingly interesting demand on how can they use BigPay to purchase with points, whether it's part points or full points, because before you can only go to Move app, which is our OTA, the group's OTA, to use your points to purchase flights. But now there's an increasing interesting demand on how can we use BigPay to use points to purchase other things apart from flights and so forth, restaurants or even petrol for your day-to-day driving and so forth. And what's interesting is that you see the value of the points, and our chairman, the whole group's chairman, he's got over 5 million points, and that's worth like a lot of money. And he says, can this turn into cash? Is there a time where we can turn into cash, because it's quite valuable for us to use this for other purposes as well?
What's Visa's view on points in the future of currency? Are we going to all just be giving up dollars and end up just living off points?
I don't know in terms of that, but I think I don't know what the future's going to hold. But obviously, I mean, depending on the area, there are points cards which are very effective in terms of loyalty and how people will use those. I think what's really interesting, though, when we think about the fintech world and payments and how things are evolving, is the kind of the using of points within the payments processes, alongside all of the other payment types. And I think that, for me, is really interesting.
Right. The points plus pay, or just...
Exactly,
Yeah. But there must be, to Jan's point originally, where there's so many payment options at Grab. At what point do we just see points, not just Grab points, but other points become payment options? We've seen Marriott has done deals now with Rakuten in Japan and Flipkart in India, effectively connecting their points program to other travel companies and effectively connecting them to e-commerce. It's an expansive world. But does this drive loyalty for you? Does points a thing on the ground? Do consumers talk about points, or are they still connected to experience as a form of loyalty?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I think we don't really have such requests or things around loyalty program for Mandai. But I think, as you all know, we only have a membership program. So, but what I'm thinking about is how can we actually use, people can redeem, use their points to redeem for Mandai tickets, or using that, to exchange for retail items and stuff like that. That could be possible. Yeah.
All right, so that's the second trend. We want to talk about points. We want to talk about this sort of the rise of the OTA in various different formats. Let's go on to the third big topic in fintech at the moment, which is cross-border payments and supplier payments. There's so much going on there. AI has been told it's going to revolutionize payments, make things more seamless. We've got other areas like crypto stable coins, which could be making things much easier. There's also all sorts more advertising than I've seen before. Virtual credit cards are still a form of payment. So much going on. But let's start with the supplier. What are you seeing in the front of you, right in front of you, in terms of supplier payments? Is it a very different world? Are you anticipating a different world? What's going on?
So in the context of Mandai, I think everyone knows that we are in attraction and present that we welcome millions of tourists into Singapore. So we also observe that, when we have our online payment, we also observe that, we have huge amount of traffic that's coming to the website when we run campaigns. But somehow, in certain countries, the conversion wasn't there. And it's somehow stuck at, the cart, and it doesn't actually transact over. So after some understanding is that, why is that so? But when we look at the OTA, hey, they're actually increasing. So they're not booking online with us direct, but they are actually, booking via the OTA or even with the travel agents. So for us is that, yes, they are still coming to Mandai, which is great, but they are not booking direct. I think it is the same situation as hospitality. That's good, but that's not good enough, I would say. So cross-border payment to us is still an issue, and we want to address that. And this is something that we need to look at with our fintech payment as well. The second part that's that you ask about AI, right? How can we talk about fintech without touching the part about AI? I think after rolling out, our payment, I think what we actually really enjoy is that how we can use the AI-driven fraud detection, and that helps us a lot in terms of preventing that. I think the second part that we look at is the automation in terms of the reconciliation between the payment and the actual visit and the transaction. So that helps our finance to cut back a lot of time in terms of the reconciliation. So I think these are the two things that are really helping us as a business.
We are 100% seeing that at Agoda, where our greatest fraud warrior is our AI tools that we are building for sure. But reconciliation, which used to just be this evil story where the little edge cases on reconciliation could consume hundreds of hours of work, we're now solving that very quickly. And what are you seeing in cross-border payments that you think is going to change the way travel suppliers and distributors work together?
Yeah, I think when it comes to supply side of the business, cross-border payment, I think there has been a lot of pain points.
Yes.
FX rate fluctuation and so on. So what we have been trying to do recently with some of our partners is to leverage on AI to make cash flow projection, so that when we know for our partners involved in dealing business in multiple countries, what is their foreign currency exposure, and then with that we help our partner to better hedge their FX risk. I think that's another interesting use case of AI when it comes to supply side of the business.
Excellent. Well, we're coming towards the wrap end, but what I always like to do as we get towards the end of a fintech session is we've covered a lot of ground. But here we have a lot of people operating businesses, hotels, airlines, tech companies. They've got to know what they can take away from today's session that they can get to do in their companies immediately. I call it the Monday morning advice. What should these people now be taking away Monday morning to do to try and get the most out of fintech and cover some of the issues we're doing? So let's go from the top to the beginning. I really want to tell us, what's your Monday morning advice to the audience, the things they should be doing straight away?
Really make use of the ecosystem. We have access to it, because I think that's the most valuable piece that people tend to overlook sometimes.
Yeah. Tania, what's your Monday morning advice for the people here?
Every Monday I think about how can AI help me this week.
Yes.
So this week I asked about our questions for this session, actually.
Yes.
It's very good. But I think map out for all of us every step of our consumer's journey and how we can make it better.
Yes. Excellent.
And then the next Monday start
again. So as much as we have technology, as much as we have AI, we've got to come back to that consumer user journey.
What do they want?
What do they want? Yeah. Yeah, and what's your Monday morning advice?
Yeah, so in the context of Ant International, we are known as the payment players.
Yes.
But my Monday morning advice to my fellow travel industry friends is do not just take us as the payment processor, take us as the growth engine for you and as your partner.
Mm-hmm. And Angeline, last comment for you. What's your advice as an operator for Monday morning?
Come Monday morning, I think we have to stop seeing payment as a end of the journey, but start seeing them as the start of a relationship.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. So we covered a lot of material that we talked at the beginning about trust and seamlessness and trackability and how to get certainty in the way in which fintech is rolled out. But I think what I loved about this panel the most is the opening parts of WiT talked about AI in the front end, talked about AI as the concierge, as the trip planner, as the traveler's assistant. What we've learned here today is the role of AI as the fintech enabler, reconciliation, data tracking, fraud, projection analysis. I think if we've got one message here is don't forget the inside-out view. of travel and fintech and AI. Will you please thank my panelists? Thank you so much. Julian, back to you. Nice one.